All right, folks, welcome back. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. Today, we're going to be discussing the Rams Super Bowl and not really the way we just did. So the last video, I talked about why I think the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl, and this video will be why I think the Rams might not win the Super Bowl. Now, understand, I do believe they're going to win it, but the whole point of this video is not to be negative. No, it's really to focus on some of the concerns and just put them out there, right? So everyone has an idea of the concerns and the weaknesses going into the season. Before we dive into that, though, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogan, including Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And of course, today's sponsor is Prize Picks. And you can sign up today and get a $50 instant bonus when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's yours. It's guaranteed. One Caleb Williams passing yard is going to be one win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard. So it'll have 0.5 yards and you just hit more and there you go. It's a free W. It's going to be 4 weeks of that every football weekend in September. Don't miss the deal on Prize Picks because once September's over, the deal is over. I've played Prize Picks for years, and I can say there's no better feeling than seeing that lineup turn green and having that payout hit your account. It's simple to play. You choose a player projection that you like, and you either believe that they're going to have less or they're going to have more than what is listed, and that's how you play. So download the app today, use promo code JKBogan to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Okay, so the Rams. We talked about the Super Bowl and why they're going to win. Well, why would they not win? Let's start with the first thing here, which is health. Okay, I think this is an obvious one. Some people might not even want this factored in because health, you could say that about anybody. If Patrick Mahomes were to go down, the Chiefs have no chance. Does not matter how good of a coach Andy Reid is, that team is not winning a Super Bowl without Patrick Mahomes. Although, to be fair, I'm very high on Carson Wentz, and I do think he could win games for them. So, number one is health, right? Currently, the offensive line has question marks. What do I mean by that? Well, you already have KT Leviston, who, he was put on the IR, designated return. Connor McDermott, same thing. But even more closer to the actual roster, guys that would contribute as early as week one. Well, they can't. So Alaric Jackson's suspended. We know that. But obviously, we're talking about Rob Havenstein's injury. We're talking about the fact that Jonah Jackson was banged up all of camp and finally came back towards the end. We are talking about that, okay? Injuries, they do persist, especially on the offensive line. Now, the question marks, because guys were out, right? I mean, Noteboom, he's had issues. Alec Jackson's had issues. I mean, Jonah Jackson has not been able to play a full game in years. So there are injury concerns for sure. Avila played all the games last year, looked great doing it. Kevin Dotson was great, didn't really have any issues. Rob Havenstein, though, in the past, when Rob Havenstein comes back from an injury, the fact he even had an injury to begin with, he normally struggles. He's had some poor seasons. He's had some great seasons, and he's one of the captains, and he's a leader, and he's very important. But if Rob Havenstein's injury ends up being a lingering thing, like an ankle can be, well, the Rams might be in some trouble, and that could harm their chances of winning the Super Bowl this year. In addition to that, health, because guys have had injury concerns in the past. Matthew Stafford, he feels like a ticking time bomb. I am very high on Matthew Stafford. That is not a shock to anybody. But if we're being honest with ourselves, with the horrid job that the Detroit Lions did in protecting Matthew Stafford during his tenure there, which could be, I would say, compared to that of Russell Wilson in Seattle, it might come quicker. Father Time might catch up to him quicker than maybe we want. Obviously, we want. And that is just a reality of it. I don't foresee it happening this year, but it's always something to keep in mind. Plus, he's had back issues. He's had ankle issues. He's had head injuries. He's had finger and hand and arm. It's been brutal. So the fact that Stafford's even still standing shows you the toughness that he has. But he's healthy now. We'll see what ends up happening. Still, previous, lapses and stuff like that are cause for concern. Kyren Williams, right? Never had any sort of injury in Notre Dame. Then he comes to the Rams, first game of the year in 2022 as a rookie. On the opening kickoff, he has a guy barrel into the back of his ankle, misses 11 games, right? Then this past year, he was great, but he had an ankle issue, okay? So he had an ankle injury, and then he broke his hand. And then he was also being, evaluated for a concussion in the Lions game. Not really a shock there. So there's some issues there. Cooper Kupp, do I really need to say? This time last year, Cooper Kupp was visiting a body specialist, okay? Even YouTube doctors and surgeons with their channels were saying, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's seeing. This might not be good. And sure enough, it wasn't. While he did come back for week 5 and he still looked like Cooper Kupp, for the most part, last year he was banged up pretty much the whole year, played that way, really never got comfortable despite having 400-yard games, almost getting 800 yards on the year. Cooper Kupp is back. He's healthy, but that injury concern still remains and always will. He's had ACL tears. He's had ankle issues. He's had hand. He's had arm. So, yes, Cooper Kupp belongs on this, the watch list, if you will, for health. Puka Nacua, same thing. Big reason why he fell in the draft. Of course, that's now what everyone is saying. I don't really buy it. I think he just was one of the guys that was forgotten about. But a lot of teams seem to believe that Puka Nacua would have gone higher in the draft if not for his injuries at BYU. Be that as it may, he was banged up last year. He played all 18 games and did a damn good job of it, but he also was banged up, and we saw multiple times just the way he plays. So he is going to have to calm down on the way he plays. He's going to have to figure out a happy medium between giving it his all, but also making a franchise and career decision. Cornerbacks, Darius Williams has had injury concerns in the past, was banged up in camp, big reason why they signed Jerry Jacobs. And Tre'Davious White has had 2 of the major injuries that you could have in professional sports, a torn ACL and a torn Achilles. So that also is a concern. In addition to that, Kobe Durant has had a hard time staying healthy throughout his career. Even when he plays, he's dealing with soft tissue stuff a lot. So that's concerning. And then Quentin Lake has had some issues. So with that said, health, first and foremost, number one, is a big concern for the Rams. How big is it? I mean, it's not a massive concern. They have some pretty good health as far as linebackers and outside linebackers and defensive linemen. The receiver room outside of their 2 best receivers are, for the most part, relatively healthy. Running backs, for the most part, although to be fair, even their third back, Ronnie Rivers, was dealing with something last year, an ankle that sidelined him longer than Kyren. So that's something to be said. And then, of course, Jimmy Garoppolo's had injuries in the past, and he's the backup to Matthew Stafford. So there are some stuff there. Number 2, unproven key contributors. Okay, so this is not me dunking on any of them. I'm very high on most of these guys I'm going to name. But running back Blake Corum, tight end Colby Parkinson, defensive line Braden Fisk, Jared Verse, right? Brennan Jackson, Christian Roseboom, Troy Reeder, Omar Spates, Jake Hummel, Kobe Durant, Josh Wallace, Charles Woods, Quentin Lake, Cameron Kinchins, and Josh Carty. They're all really unproven. Christian Roseboom is proven in the sense that he played a lot last year, but is he any good? I mean, he's a guy, I don't think he's bad, but is he a plus? Is he a positive on the defense? That's what he needs to prove. Same thing with Troy Reeder, who did start in the Super Bowl. Aside from that, Colby Parkinson, he's not really proven anything in his career. He's proven that he can be incredibly underutilized, but that's about it. So Blake Corum has not done anything in the NFL. Neither has Verse. Jackson, at least Jackson's played in a game, albeit preseason. Kobe Durant had a half of a rookie season where you thought he could be a star, and then, that didn't really amount to much in year 2. Charles Woods and Josh Wallace, were they guys that were added because they deserved to make the roster, or did they make the roster because the Rams didn't have any options at cornerback? Cameron Kinchins, okay, 3rd round pick, hasn't really had a ton of NFL experience. Quentin Lake, is he going to be able to take the next step the Rams are expecting him to take? We'll see. And Josh Carty, more importantly than any of them, Josh Carty, can he be that kicker? Okay, he's an unproven key contributor. He is going to be their starting kicker, and we've seen the Rams have needed kicking in the past. So that is number 2. Number 3 is lack of depth at 2 areas. Okay, I think the Rams have a ton of depth all over their roster, but there's 2 areas where they don't have it. Now, I want to make this clear. I am well aware that they kept 5 linebackers. I'm well aware that they like all 5 linebackers, but it's unproven. We don't know how Omar Spates is going to go, to the point that I was just making. Any of the linebackers, including Elias Neal, no idea how that's going to go. We have no idea. We have an inkling that Reeder and Roseboom are going to be below average linebackers that play hard, that are well liked, that are smart, conscientious, all that. But in the grand scheme of the NFL, they're going to be below average starters, right? That's kind of like what we're expecting. After trading Ernest Jones, the linebacker room is missing that big name. Do they need it? We'll find out. Cornerback room, after opting not to re-sign Akella Witherspoon or bring back a Duke Shelley, or I'm not really sure what happened with Jerry Jacobs. They just waived him injured. But the point I'm making here is that the cornerback room is very unproven. You only have 2 guys. Aside from those 2 guys, Kobe Durant is a hope. Those 2 UDFAs, Wallace and Woods, they're hopes. It's not a guarantee. So number 3 is lack of depth in the linebacker room and the cornerback room. That could come down, to the wire. We'll see if it ends up being a thing. Number 4 is the loss of Aaron Donald. Now, let me make this clear. I don't think losing Aaron Donald was detrimental. I said it. I didn't think it was detrimental to the team. I figured they would replace him in a way. Obviously, you can't replace that production, but they would do a good enough job. And they did. They went out and got Braden Fisk. They went out and got Tyler Davis, Bobby Brown III they already had, who's going to, in my opinion, take the next step. And Kobe Turner was runner-up for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And they have Desjuan Johnson, who they really like. And they added Neville Gallimore. They're fine on the defensive line. But the loss of Aaron Donald could mean more than just the defensive line. The loss of Aaron Donald, we do not know. I don't think it's going to be crippling. But the defense may find out how badly they miss him. We do not know how their defense is going to run. I have hoped that the defense isn't looking at it as if, okay, we lost Aaron Donald, but we're still going to run the defense the same type of way. Even though he was giving us double teams and triple teams or whatever, taking on those, we're still going to run it the same way as if we have Donald. There has to be changes made. Maybe some of the things you did, having lighter boxes up front because you trusted AD, maybe stuff like that might not be the move. So number 4 depends on how they approach this, but the loss of Aaron Donald could be a reason why the Rams don't win the Super Bowl this year. Another slow start to the season, number 5. The Rams open up the year against the Lions, the Packers, and the 49ers in their first 5 games. Okay? So obviously not 3 in a row, but their first 5 games, they open up against 3 of the top NFC teams. Okay? You could argue the Eagles are in there as well, but they play them later on in the year. Losing those 3 could be destructive for the Rams. Absolutely destructive. Because you lose those 3, and now you're not going to have a tiebreaker against the Lions, the Packers, or the 49ers, unless, things work out in the end. You win that 49er game later on in the year, and it just works out. So tiebreakers early on are a must, in my opinion. The Rams lost their 2022 season the moment they lost to the Bills. So I feel like that Lions game, with a lot of pressure riding on it, very similar to the Bills game, could be everything to this team. So if the Rams look bad in the Lions game, you know how they always say, oh, it's just week 1, it's not so bad. Yeah, well, it was only week 1 when the Bills came in on banner night at SoFi Stadium and won 31-10. And people just blew it off and said, yeah, that looked bad, but that was just week 1. And you know how I know that? Because I was one of those people. Now, they had injuries and obviously everything else that coincided with that, but the point still stands. That game crushed their spirit. It killed the Rams in 2022. They never recovered from that game. Will it be the same? I would say more often than not, the home team, the team that is listed as the favorite, and the team that went the furthest the previous year and is obviously getting the most hype, if they lose that game in a blowout, that is pretty much where it goes. So I don't think that the Rams losing to the Lions would cripple their season, but I do think that if they got absolutely destroyed in primetime in front of the world, I don't necessarily look at that as a wake-up call. I think that could very well hurt the rest of the year. So we'll see what ends up happening, but a slow start to the season is number 5 as to why the Rams might not win the Super Bowl. Number 6, too much shaken up right before the season. Okay, this is subjective. Some people care, some people don't. I truthfully don't care as much as everyone else. But moving Avila from center, who he's been working on that position all off season, to then move Jonah Jackson, who's been banged up most of camp, and they're swapping spots, so Jonah Jackson's going to be the center. I know this was mentioned as something that would happen for this week and maybe not for the full season, and probably has something to do with Alec Jackson not being available for week 1 because of the suspension, but that's a lot to just shake up right before the season. In addition to that, letting go of the special teams assistant, I don't think letting go of Chili Davis is going to kill you. I don't think it is going to make or break your season, but I do think these type of things compiling, adding a Scott Frost, moving on from a special teams assistant, personally, I don't have an issue with it, but having all of this change and different things going on right before the season could lead to that. And of course, the last thing here, when it comes to shaking up the season, Ernest Jones. Trading away Ernest Jones. Say what you will, we have no idea everything that happened, but we do know that these players obviously had a relationship with Ernest Jones. He was there last year. He was a captain, voted on by his teammates. So to see the teammate from last year in a year where they could have won the Super Bowl, they could have gone on a run, they were the hottest team at the end of the year, that type of season, and obviously I would say his best season of his career, to see that teammate get traded away for pennies right before the season, does that make you feel great as a player? Do you feel like, yeah, this team is definitely going to win it all? Maybe not. And so that much shaking up right before the season could be detrimental to winning another Super Bowl. Number 7, the Rams haven't been able to win in Green Bay. Okay, this might be picky. This might be lame to even point out. But there's a real chance the NFC's road to the Super Bowl runs through Green Bay. Okay? Now, a lot of people would say San Francisco. Some may say Philadelphia. Green Bay. The Rams do not win in Green Bay. They did not win last year. Obviously, Matthew Stafford could not play. He was injured, and they went with Brett Rippon. They should have just signed Carson Wentz. Am I right? But you go back in history, they played there the year with OBJ, and they lost. It was a 36-28, I believe. And then they lost the playoff game in 2020. Now, understanding this, it's a little different. Jared Goff, and then you had Brett Rippon, and you had one time with Matthew Stafford. But the reality is they have to be able to beat Green Bay. And it might be fair to say Matt LaFleur just might have something on Sean McVay. So can he get that monkey off his back? We're going to find out in week 5 of the season. Or I might have been week 4 of the season. Anyway, we'll find out early on in the season. So that is the 7th. This is the last one, and it's very simple, okay? I may not agree with this, but this is one of the things that people would bring up, and it is unproven defensive coordinator. Chris Shula is in his first year as a defensive coordinator, rookie defensive coordinator. He could struggle. He could get way too in over his head. He could struggle not only on the field, right? Getting the signals out, calling plays, all of that. He could struggle with that, but he could also struggle and lose the locker room. He could lose the defensive, room, essentially. So there's a lot riding here on a rookie defensive coordinator, but I don't think that's going to happen. He's been preparing himself since 2017. He's been around Wade Phillips. He's been around Brandon Staley. He's been around Raheem Morris. I don't expect it to happen, but if the unproven defensive coordinator proves himself to not be a good defensive coordinator, the Rams could be in some trouble. So those are my 8 reasons why the Rams might not win the Super Bowl. I didn't want to make it super negative and be like, this is why the Rams will not win the Super Bowl, because it maybe in other cases, other seasons, when I didn't think the Rams were necessarily my Super Bowl favorite, I'd be like, okay, I'd have that. But it just feels weird, like when you truly believe something, but then you have to act dumb to appease a bit or a series, it just comes off as like unauthentic. And that's just not me. So I do think the Rams are going to win this year's Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. I can't stress that enough. But if they don't get there, or if they don't win it, these are the reasons why they did not come through and win their 5th NFL championship for the organization's history and their 3rd Super Bowl. Okay, those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below. Did I miss any key, concerns or weaknesses? Drop it in the comment section below. But I'm Jake Ellenbogen. You can like, subscribe, and comment to support this channel, this video, and myself. And be sure to check out today's sponsor of this video, Prize Picks. Link is in the description, in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, folks. Later.
Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.